As Father McGarry read that reading just now, that word peace really stuck out for me. That word peace. Because we've been in very exciting, hectic times the last few days, haven't we? Orientations, welcomes, pep rallies, so many things. It's so important to hear that word of peace and to take a moment and to gather here like this before our God and to have a moment to open our hearts and to pray together. Because as President Sullivan mentioned at the beginning of the liturgy, today really is a day with a clear before and after in many of our lives. So many new people are joining our community, students, their parents, their caregivers, their families, their friends. Today, Santa Clara takes on a new face, or rather it takes on thousands of new faces. Now, my friends, in coming to Santa Clara, you become part of a tradition, one that stretches back hundreds of years. Most immediately, it stretches back to 1851, just 2 years after the gold rush, when people were starting to flock by the thousands and tens of thousands to this state of California. They came from all over the world, from east in the United States, but from west in Asia, from the south in Latin America, from every direction, people were streaming to this place. So the bishop of California at the time, he invited the Jesuits to come and found a school because these people coming had children and needed them to be educated. And so he invited the Jesuits to come and to form this university on the land that formerly belonged to the Franciscan mission of Santa Clara, St. Clare, the first woman named as a saint of one of the missions. So going back hundreds of years, this has been a sacred place. We know even going back further, it was sacred to the Ohlone and Muwekma Ohlone, who remember, who occupied this land and prospered on this land for so long. But in 1851, 2 Jesuits came. Both of them were exiles. They'd been expelled from Italy. And they started little Santa Clara College. And because they were exiles themselves, they were especially sensitive to people coming from all over the world. It's notable that the very first catalog of the university was printed in both English and Spanish, because those were the communities that were most coming to this small college. And so thus began the oldest college in California. These humble beginnings, multilingual, multicultural right from the start, a place of people on the move, people with big dreams, people who are eager to seize the opportunities opened up by discovery. Sound a little bit like Silicon Valley today, maybe? It was a community that had a sense of the sacred. It was motivated by a faith that proclaimed God active in the world. See, these were bold people, ingenious people, and they'd eventually come to define so much of what everybody else in the world thinks of as California, this innovation, this creativity, this opportunity. New students and families, you're heirs of this tradition. By choosing to come here, you become part of that tradition. But our tradition also goes further back. We could trace it back to 1548, the founding of the first Jesuit school. The Jesuits, the Society of Jesus, as we're officially known in the Catholic Church. My brother priests here are all Jesuits, members of this order. The order had just been founded 8 years before in 1540. And in 1548, the local communities there in Italy started to ask these Jesuits to form schools. They wanted their young people formed in civic virtues, people who could make a difference in the world. And they knew the Jesuits were known as people of learning, people who wanted to engage the world in all its complexity. The Jesuits had this special gift, a charism, an abiding belief that God does something unique in every human person. And the education those Jesuits started to give back then, and that continues to this day, embraces every art and science. And it seeks to help every student tease out that special gift and blessing that they can uniquely be in the world. We Jesuits, we call this discernment. It's nourished in a reflective spirit, one that looks inside and cultivates in me the best gifts I have, calls forth the virtues and talents and the hope and the wisdom that I can bring to bear in the world. So new students and families, we invite you to explore and embrace this tradition of Santa Clara, with its sense of a transcendent purpose for you, with its call to reflection and discernment, with its challenge to become a person not just for yourself, but for others. We say here on this campus, people for and with others. If you truly discern what's going on in you and what's going on in the world, you will find yourself called to give ever more of yourself in loving accompaniment and service in this world. People for and with others. But stretching even further back, here at Santa Clara, we find inspiration in the readings we've just heard today, because they speak of an experience which the Christians call Pentecost. It's a moment when diverse peoples who could have been so easily divided, they could have even been fearful of each other, they come to feel the Spirit of God moving in their midst. It begins, as we heard, with those followers of Jesus hiding themselves in a locked room out of fear. But into their midst comes Jesus, comes the Spirit of God, risen from the dead, and he speaks that word of peace to them, that peace that refreshes them, that gives them hope, that gives them courage. He calms their hearts, and he lifts them up with hope. And then he breathes the Holy Spirit, that Spirit of God, upon them. And they become people transformed. Where before they had been scared and intimidated, talk about imposter syndrome, do I belong? Now they feel they can boldly speak. Now they find themselves imagining and seeking to be part of a kingdom that embodies everything they can imagine of love and justice and dignity for everyone in the world. These disciples find themselves connected to everyone, and they find themselves going out into the streets. And when they walk out, they find that the languages that had previously divided them no longer do. They can listen. They can really listen to one another. And they can speak. They can boldly speak honestly from their own experience. And they can learn. They can learn from and with each other. And they can dream together of a future not yet seen. Our second reading, so beautifully proclaimed about St. Paul's letter to the Corinthians, describes how those same people came to recognize that they ultimately form one body in which every part matters, in which everyone has something to contribute. No two of them are alike. Each one is valuable. And when they act together, they can be wildly creative. They can be daringly innovative. So no students and families, our community invites you to engage in this same way. It's part of our heritage, the best of our heritage, as a Jesuit Catholic community. And it's in the best tradition of who we are as a university, especially one right here in Silicon Valley. This spirit invites us all to be creative, invites us to be innovators, addressing the needs of our age, caring for our common home in this valley, in this country, around the planet, so we can together forge a hope-filled future. So Santa Clara is a space that invites you, each in your own way, with your own beliefs and faith traditions, with your own convictions and questions, with your own cultures and languages, and yes, even with your own quirks and idiosyncrasies, because we all have them, to be a part of the conversation, to become part of this one body. We know that we only fully grasp the Spirit of God when we hear from every voice. Your voice matters. So my dear new students and families, today we say welcome. Welcome to our community. Welcome to our traditions, which you already embody in the boldness that brought you here today. Welcome to our call to reflective discernment, charged with that horizon of God who's active in the world, leading and guiding us, and in which we find each of us a unique vocation to which we're called. And welcome to our community that is forged in diversity, that prizes each of your faces and voices, and that together pursues peace, justice, and reconciliation together. My dear friends, may God, whose Spirit moved at that first Pentecost and transformed lives, bless you today and all the days of your lives.